Welcome back, everyone. Before we dive into tonight's story, I just want to say thank you for being here. Whether you're settling in for the night, studying, working, or just need something to listen to, I'm grateful you chose to spend your time with me. This is going to be a long journey together, so get comfortable, relax, and let's explore one of the most fascinating what-if scenarios in the Naruto universe. And hey, if you enjoy these deep dives into alternate timelines and you want to support the channel, hitting that subscribe button really does help me keep creating these stories for you. It costs nothing, takes 1 second, and it means the world to me. All right, let's begin. Now, imagine this, the night of the Uchiha massacre. Itachi Uchiha stands in the rain-soaked streets of the Uchiha compound, his hands stained with the blood of his own clan. But in this timeline, something different happens. As he walks through the village one final time before joining the Akatsuki, he passes by the apartment of Naruto Uzumaki, the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki, the orphan child who everyone in the village despises. And in this moment, Itachi makes a decision that changes everything. He takes Naruto with him. But why would he do this? What would drive Itachi to take the Jinchuriki of the Nine-Tails away from the Hidden Leaf? And more importantly, how would this single decision reshape the entire Naruto universe? That's what we're about to explore. And trust me, this gets intense. Let's start with the why. Itachi Uchiha is perhaps the most tragic figure in all of Naruto. A genius who awakened his Sharingan at age 8, became a Chunin at 10, and joined the Anbu at 11. But more than his skills, Itachi possessed something rare, something that set him apart from almost every other shinobi in history. He had the ability to see beyond the boundaries of his clan, his village, and even his own nation. Itachi thought in terms of the greater good, the bigger picture. He understood that sometimes terrible sacrifices had to be made to prevent even greater catastrophes. This is why he slaughtered his own clan, why he became a traitor in the eyes of everyone he loved, and why he lived the rest of his short life as a criminal, all to protect the village and his little brother, Sasuke. But Itachi also understood loneliness. He understood what it meant to be burdened with a truth that no one else could know, to carry a weight that would crush most people. And when he looked at Naruto Uzumaki, he saw something familiar. He saw a child bearing a burden he never asked for, a vessel for the Nine-Tails, hated by the very village he was meant to protect. Itachi knew that the village's treatment of Naruto was not only cruel but also strategically foolish. They were alienating their own Jinchuriki, pushing away the very weapon that could protect them. And Itachi, always thinking several moves ahead, recognized the danger in this. In the original timeline, Itachi left Naruto in the village, trusting that somehow things would work out, that Naruto would find his path. But what if he didn't trust that? What if, in those final moments before leaving the Hidden Leaf, Itachi calculated the odds and realized that Naruto would be better served elsewhere? What if he saw in Naruto not just a Jinchuriki, but a potential tool to reshape the shinobi world? Or perhaps something even simpler? What if Itachi, in a moment of compassion, decided that no child should suffer the way he had suffered, the way Sasuke would suffer, and chose to give Naruto a different path? So on that night, Itachi doesn't just walk past Naruto's apartment. He stops. He uses his Sharingan to bypass the minimal security, the village's neglect of Naruto working in his favor. He enters the small, dingy apartment where 5-year-old Naruto sleeps, probably hungry, definitely alone. And Itachi, this man who just killed his entire family, looks down at this child and makes a decision. He reaches down, and before Naruto can even wake up properly, Itachi places him under a mild genjutsu, not to harm, but to keep him calm, to keep him quiet. And just like that, Itachi Uchiha vanishes from the hidden leaf with the nine tails Jinchuriki in his arms. Now, let's pause here, because this is where it gets really interesting. The immediate consequences of this action are catastrophic for the hidden leaf. When morning comes and the Uchiha massacre is discovered, the village is already in chaos. The entire Uchiha clan, one of the founding clans of Konoha, has been wiped out in a single night by one of their own. The political ramifications are enormous. The power vacuum, the fear, the questions about how this could have happened. But then, as if that wasn't enough, someone checks on Naruto Uzumaki, and he's gone, vanished, without a trace. The nine tails Jinchuriki, the village's ultimate weapon, their nuclear deterrent against other nations, has been taken. And the prime suspect? Itachi Uchiha. Now, Itachi isn't just a clan killer. He's a traitor of the highest order. He's stolen the village's most valuable asset. The third Hokage, Hiruzen Sarutobi, immediately mobilizes every available Anbu team. They search everywhere. But Itachi is too skilled, too careful. He's covered his tracks perfectly, and within hours, he's beyond the Fire Country's borders. The village is left reeling, and the other great nations begin to circle like sharks smelling blood in the water. Kono has just lost both its most powerful clan and its Jinchuriki in one night. They appear vulnerable in a way they haven't been since the Third Great Ninja War. But let's shift focus to Naruto himself. Imagine waking up and nothing is familiar. The 5-year-old Naruto, who fell asleep in his lumpy bed in his tiny apartment, wakes up in a cave somewhere far from the hidden leaf. And standing over him is this figure, this person with red eyes that spin with an otherworldly pattern. Naruto, for all his bravado and energy, is still just a child, and he's terrified. But Itachi, in his calm, measured way, speaks to him. He tells Naruto that he's safe, that he won't be hurt, but that things are going to be different now. And Naruto, confused and scared, asks the obvious question. Why? Why did you take me? Where's the old man Hokage? Where's Iruka-sensei? Can I go home? And Itachi, looking at this child with those ancient, tired eyes, tells him something that Naruto's never heard before. He tells him the truth. Not all of it, not yet, but enough. He tells Naruto that the village doesn't care about him, that they see him as a weapon, a container, not a person. He tells him that if he stayed, he would have been used and discarded, manipulated by people who feared what was inside him. And then Itachi says something that changes everything for Naruto. He says, "But I see something different. I see potential. I see someone who could change everything if given the right guidance." Now, you might be wondering, what's Itachi's endgame here? Is he truly trying to help Naruto? Or is this part of some larger plan? The answer, as with everything involving Itachi, is complicated. Itachi is still loyal to the hidden leaf in his heart, but he's also pragmatic. He knows that the current system is broken, that the cycle of hatred between villages and clans will continue unless something fundamentally changes. And maybe, just maybe, Naruto could be that change. A Jinchuriki raised outside the system, free from the village's indoctrination and fear, could become something unprecedented. A force that operates beyond the traditional power structures. But Itachi also knows he can't do this alone, and he can't do it while dying from his terminal illness. Though at this point, he's still relatively healthy. So he needs allies, he needs resources, and he needs time. This is where the Akatsuki comes in, but with a twist. In the original timeline, Itachi joined the Akatsuki as a spy for the Hidden Leaf, feeding information to the third Hokage while keeping tabs on the organization's activities. But in this timeline, with Naruto in tow, Itachi's relationship with the Akatsuki becomes more complex. He still joins them. He has nowhere else to go. But now he has a secret, a child that he's hidden away before officially becoming a member. Let me paint this picture for you. Itachi approaches the Akatsuki, specifically Pain and Conan, in the hidden rain village. He offers his services, his Sharingan, his incredible skills as a shinobi. Pain, always looking for powerful members, accepts. But Itachi doesn't mention Naruto. Not yet. Instead, he finds a safe location, a remote cabin or cave system far from the Akatsuki's usual operations. And he leaves Naruto there with supplies and shadow clones to watch over him. It's not ideal, but it's temporary. Itachi needs to establish himself in the Akatsuki first, gain their trust, before he can reveal his additional asset. During this time, Naruto is alone again, but this time it's different. Itachi's shadow clones don't hate him, don't fear him. They're neutral, instructional. They teach him basic chakra control, basic literacy, things the academy would have taught him but better, more efficiently. And every few weeks, Itachi himself visits, checking on Naruto's progress, bringing supplies, and slowly, carefully, building something like trust between them. It's not a warm relationship. Itachi isn't capable of that kind of emotional openness anymore. But it's built on honesty, which is something Naruto's never experienced before. Months pass. Naruto grows stronger, more capable. He's still energetic, still loud, still fundamentally Naruto. But there's a difference. He's learning discipline from Itachi, learning to think strategically, learning that strength without control is useless. And Itachi, despite himself, finds something oddly satisfying in teaching this child. It reminds him of Sasuke, of the little brother he abandoned, and in some twisted way, training Naruto becomes a form of penance for what he did. But eventually, the situation changes. The Akatsuki begins active operations, hunting Jinchuriki for their tailed beasts. And Pain, the leader, summons all members for a meeting. The plan is revealed in full. Capture all 9-tailed beasts, extract them from their hosts, and use them to create a weapon of such devastating power that it would force the nations into peace through fear, mutually assured destruction on a scale never seen before. And this is where Itachi faces a critical decision. Does he reveal Naruto's existence to the Akatsuki? Think about Itachi's position here. He knows that Pain wants the 9 tails. That's one of the primary goals of the Akatsuki. But he also knows that if he hands over Naruto now, the child will be killed when the beast is extracted. Everything Itachi has invested in Naruto, all the potential he saw, would be wasted. So Itachi does what he does best. He lies. Not completely, but through omission. He tells Pain that he has information about the 9 tails Jinchuriki, that he knows where the child is and can deliver him when the time is right, but that attempting to capture him now would be premature. The Akatsuki needs to gather the other tailed beasts first, establish their power base, and only then make a move on the 9 tails, which is hidden in the Hidden Leaf, the most militarily powerful village. Pain, cold, and calculating sees the logic in this. The 9 tails should be the last beast they capture, the final piece. And if Itachi, the Uchiha prodigy, says he can deliver the 9 tails when needed, Pain believes him. After all, Itachi's Sharingan gives him a unique advantage when dealing with tailed beasts. So the plan is set, and Itachi buys himself time, years, potentially, before he has to deliver on his promise. During these years, Naruto's training intensifies. Itachi can't spend as much time with him directly. His duties with the Akatsuki keep him occupied, but he ensures that Naruto is never without guidance. He creates elaborate training regimens, leaves detailed scrolls of jutsu and theory, and occasionally When missions bring him near Naruto's location, he stops by to assess progress and adjust the training accordingly. And Naruto, desperate for acknowledgement, for purpose, throws himself into this training with everything he has. Now here's where it gets fascinating from a character development perspective. In the original timeline, Naruto's defining trait was his desire to be acknowledged by the Hidden Leaf, to become Hokage and prove everyone who hated him wrong. But in this timeline, that motivation doesn't exist. Naruto has no attachment to the Hidden Leaf. He barely remembers it. Instead, his motivation becomes proving himself to Itachi, earning the respect of this powerful, distant figure who saved him from a life of misery. It's a twisted form of the mentor-student relationship, but it works because both of them are fundamentally broken people, finding purpose in each other. By the time Naruto is 10 years old, he's already far more capable than his original timeline counterpart. He has perfect chakra control, having mastered the basics years ago under Itachi's rigorous instruction. He knows dozens of jutsu, not just the standard academy techniques, but proper combat jutsu that Itachi has taught him. He understands tactics, strategy, the importance of information gathering. And perhaps most importantly, he's learned to access the Nine Tails chakra safely, under controlled conditions, because Itachi, with his Sharingan, has been helping him communicate with Kurama. Let's talk about that for a moment, because it's crucial. In the original timeline, Naruto and Kurama had a hostile relationship for years. Kurama saw Naruto as just another jailer, another human using him for power. But in this timeline, things develop differently. Itachi, understanding the strategic importance of having a cooperative Nine Tails, uses his Sharingan not to suppress Kurama, but to facilitate communication. He enters Naruto's mindscape early on and speaks directly to the Nine Tails. And Itachi, in his typical, straightforward manner, makes a proposal. Help me train this child to his full potential, and I will work towards removing the seal that binds you. Not immediately, but eventually, when the time is right. Kurama, ancient and cunning, recognizes that Itachi is different from most humans. There's no fear in him, no hatred, just cold calculation and surprising honesty. And Kurama, who has spent centuries being feared and hated, finds this refreshing. So a tentative alliance forms. Kurama provides Naruto with chakra and guidance from within the seal, helping him develop techniques that utilize the Nine Tails' power without losing control. And in return, Itachi ensures that Naruto treats Kurama with respect, as a partner rather than a tool. It's not friendship, not yet, but it's the foundation for something unprecedented. A Jinchuriki and a tailed beast working together voluntarily. By age 12, Naruto is a force to be reckoned with. He's not at the level of the original series Naruto at 16 or 17, but he's far beyond where he would have been at 12 in the original timeline. And this is when Itachi makes his next major move. He decides it's time to introduce Naruto to the wider world, but not as a Jinchuriki, not as a target, as someone else entirely. Itachi creates a false identity for Naruto, complete with forged documents from a small village that was destroyed in one of the many conflicts between nations. According to these documents, Naruto is an orphan survivor from this village, talented but unremarkable, with no known bloodline limits or special abilities, just another refugee in a world full of displaced people. With this identity, Itachi begins taking Naruto on certain Akatsuki missions. Not the major operations, but the smaller jobs, information gathering, reconnaissance, low-level bounty hunting. And Naruto, excited to finally be doing something real, proves himself again and again. He's careful to hide his full abilities, to appear competent but not exceptional, just as Itachi instructed. And slowly, other Akatsuki members begin to notice this kid that Itachi sometimes has with him. Kisame Hoshigaki, Itachi's partner, is the first to really question it. He asks Itachi directly, "Why are you dragging a kid around? What's your angle here?" And Itachi, cool as ever, responds that he's training a potential recruit, someone with useful skills and no loyalties to any of the great nations. Kisame, who despite his fearsome appearance is quite intelligent, accepts this explanation because it makes sense. The Akatsuki is always looking for new members, and training someone from a young age ensures loyalty. But then something unexpected happens. Naruto meets other members of the Akatsuki, and some of them actually take an interest in him. Sasori, the puppet master, notices Naruto's exceptional chakra control and offers to teach him some basics of puppet manipulation. Not enough to make him a puppet user, but enough to understand the mechanics. Deodara, the explosive artist, finds Naruto's enthusiasm and energy amusing, a stark contrast to Sasori's coldness or Itachi's stoicism. He doesn't teach Naruto his explosive techniques, those are his art alone. But he talks to him about creativity in combat, about thinking outside traditional shinobi constraints. Even Kakuzu, the money-obsessed immortal, grudgingly respects Naruto's work ethic. And Hidan, the religious fanatic, mostly just finds Naruto annoying, but in an entertaining way. The only member who immediately dislikes Naruto is Obito, posing as Toby, the goofy persona. But of course, Obito has his own secrets, his own plans, and a child who might complicate things is naturally suspect. However, Obito keeps his suspicions to himself, watching and waiting. Now, let's jump forward a few more years. Naruto is 15, and the Akatsuki's plan is accelerating. They've successfully captured several tailed beasts. The one tail, the two tails, the three tails. The shinobi world is in chaos. Villages are scrambling to protect their remaining jinchuri. And the Akatsuki is becoming recognized as the greatest threat to global stability since the Third Great Ninja War. And through all of this, Itachi has been playing a dangerous game, feeding information to the hidden leaf when possible, while maintaining his cover in the Akatsuki, all while training Naruto to become something the world has never seen before. But the situation is becoming untenable. Pain is getting impatient. He wants the Nine Tails, and he's starting to question why Itachi hasn't delivered on his promise. The time for deception is running out, and Itachi knows it. So he does something risky. He arranges a private meeting with Pain and Conan, and he tells them a partial truth. He reveals that he's been training the Nine Tails Jinchuriki, that the boy he's had with him all these years is actually Naruto Uzumaki, the container of the Nine Tails. But, and this is crucial, he frames it as a strategic advantage. The Jinchuriki is loyal to him, to the Akatsuki by extension, fully trained and combat ready. More importantly, through years of work, Itachi has helped Naruto achieve a level of cooperation with the Nine Tails that makes him far more valuable alive than dead. Pain, listening to this revelation, is initially furious. Itachi has been lying to him for years, keeping this critical information hidden. But Pain is also pragmatic, and as Itachi explains his reasoning, the logic becomes apparent. A cooperative Jinchuriki is indeed more valuable than an extracted tailed beast, at least in the short term. The Nine Tails' power can be used for the Akatsuki's goals without requiring the complex and dangerous extraction process. And if things go wrong, they can always extract the beast later. It's actually a superior position to be in. But Obito, listening to this conversation from the shadows, sees through Itachi's plan. He recognizes that Itachi is maneuvering to keep Naruto alive, that there's more to this than simple strategic thinking. And Obito, whose own plans require the Nine Tails to be extracted for the infinite Tsukuyomi, knows that eventually he and Itachi will come into conflict over this. But for now, he plays along, curious to see how this develops. So Naruto is officially brought into the Akatsuki as a full member. He's given the Ring of the Nine Tails, fitting given what he contains, and he's assigned missions with different partners to assess his abilities. And this is where Naruto's carefully constructed identity begins to crumble under scrutiny. Because when he's in real combat, when he's pushed, his power level is far beyond what anyone expected. He's fast, faster than most John, and his chakra reserves are massive even before tapping into the Nine Tails. His jutsu repertoire is extensive, and his tactical thinking is sharp, honed by years of Itachi's instruction. The other members start to realize that this isn't just some talented orphan Itachi picked up. This is someone special. Someone potentially on par with the strongest members of the Akatsuki. And rumors begin to spread within the organization. Who is this kid really? Where did he come from? And why is Itachi so invested in him? But before these questions can be fully explored, the situation explodes. The Hidden Leaf, which has been tracking the Akatsuki's movements for years, launches a major operation. They've allied with the Sand Village and the Cloud Village, forming a temporary coalition to take down the Akatsuki before they can capture the remaining tailed beasts. And the intelligence they've gathered points to a major Akatsuki base in the Land of Rain. They're planning a full-scale assault, with multiple teams of elite Jonin and even some of the legendary Sannin involved. This operation is massive, the biggest military action since the end of the Third Great Ninja War. And at the forefront of the Hidden Leaf's forces is someone Naruto never expected to see. Sasuke Uchiha, Itachi's little brother, now 16 years old, a prodigy in his own right, driven by hatred and the desire for revenge against Itachi for massacring their clan. Sasuke has trained under Kakashi, pushed himself to the limits, all for this one goal, to kill Itachi Uchiha. When Itachi learns that Sasuke is part of the attacking force, something shifts in him. For years, he's been preparing for this moment, knowing that eventually he would have to face his brother again. But he also knows his illness is progressing, that his time is limited. In the original timeline, Itachi planned to die by Sasuke's hand, to give his brother closure and the power of the Mangekyo Sharingan. But in this timeline, things are more complicated. He has Naruto to consider, the plans he's set in motion, the changes he's trying to effect in the shinobi world. The battle that follows is absolute chaos. The coalition forces clash with the Akatsuki members in a massive, multi-front engagement. Pain unleashes the full power of the Rinnegan, devastating entire squads of enemy shinobi. Konan's paper techniques create deadly storms of razor-sharp sheets. Kisame floods entire sections of the battlefield, using his massive chakra reserves to drown opponents. And through it all, Itachi faces off against the Hidden Leaf's forces, cutting through them with clinical efficiency. But then Sasuke finds him. The two brothers face each other for the first time in nearly a decade, and the rage in Sasuke's eyes is almost palpable. He's activated his Sharingan, evolved it through years of training and hatred, and he's ready to finally take his revenge. Itachi, looking at his little brother, feels a complex mix of pride and sorrow. Sasuke has grown strong, just as Itachi hoped, but he's also consumed by darkness. Their fight begins. Sharingan versus Sharingan, Genjutsu layered upon Genjutsu, fire jutsu illuminating the battlefield. It's everything Itachi knew it would be, a battle that pushes both of them to their limits. But then, something Itachi didn't plan for happens. Naruto sees the fight. He's been engaged elsewhere on the battlefield, taking down Hidden Leaf Chunin and Jonin with ruthless efficiency when he notices Itachi being pushed back by Sasuke. And Naruto, loyal to the man who saved him, who trained him, who gave him purpose, makes a decision. He enters the fight, Imagine Sasuke's shock when this blonde shinobi wearing an Akatsuki cloak suddenly intervenes, blocking his attack on Itachi. Sasuke demands to know who this person is, why they're protecting Itachi, and Naruto, looking at Sasuke with eyes that have seen too much for someone so young, simply says, "Because he saved me." This moment, this confrontation between Naruto and Sasuke, it's one of the most important divergences from the original timeline. In the original story, they were teammates, rivals, and eventually friends, fighting to save each other. But in this timeline, they're enemies, facing each other across a battlefield with completely different loyalties and completely different understandings of the world. Sasuke sees another person under Itachi's thrall, another victim of his brother's manipulation. Naruto sees someone trying to kill the closest thing he has to a father figure. They clash, and it's immediately clear that they're evenly matched. Sasuke has his Sharingan, his Chidori, his speed and precision honed through years of training with Kakashi. Naruto has his overwhelming chakra reserves, his nine-tails cloak that he can now manifest at will, his diverse jutsu repertoire, and his unpredictable fighting style that mixes Itachi's tactical precision with his own creative chaos. The fight between them levels buildings, their attacks creating craters in the earth. But Itachi, watching this unfold, realizes something. This is wrong. This isn't what he wanted. He didn't save Naruto from one cycle of hatred just to throw him into another. And he didn't push Sasuke toward revenge just to have him killed by someone Itachi himself trained. So Itachi, using the last reserves of his strength, his illness making every movement agony, intervenes. He places both Naruto and Sasuke under a powerful genjutsu, forcing them to stop, forcing them to listen. And in this genjutsu space, Itachi does something he's never done before. He tells them the truth, all of it. He tells Sasuke about the Uchiha coup, about the impossible choice he was given by the village elders, about why he did what he did. He tells him that everything, the massacre, the cruelty, the role of the villain, and he tells Naruto why he took him, not just as a tool or a weapon, but because he saw in Naruto the potential to break the cycle of hatred that has consumed the shinobi world for generations. The revelation shatters both of them. Sasuke, who has built his entire identity around hatred for his brother, suddenly has to confront the fact that Itachi was actually a hero, that everything he believed was a lie. And Naruto, who has followed Itachi unquestioningly, has to confront the fact that his mentor is dying, has always been dying, and that the purpose Itachi saw in him is something far larger and more terrifying than he ever imagined. Before either can fully process this, the genjutsu breaks. They're back on the battlefield, and Itachi is collapsing. His illness has progressed too far, his chakra is depleted, and his body is failing. Naruto rushes to him, and for the first time, there's real emotion on Itachi's face. Not the cold mask he always wore, but genuine warmth as he looks at Naruto. He tells Naruto that he's proud of him, that he's exceeded every expectation, and that now Naruto has to make his own choices about what kind of shinobi he wants to be. He tells him not to be bound by Itachi's plans or the Akatsuki's goals, but to forge his own path. And then, with a final glance at Sasuke, Itachi Uchiha dies. The battlefield goes quiet around them. Naruto is kneeling beside Itachi's body, tears streaming down his face for the first time in years. Sasuke stands a few feet away, his entire worldview shattered, not knowing whether to feel grief or rage or relief. And around them, the battle continues, but in this small pocket of space, time seems to have stopped. But the moment can't last. Pain arrives, drawn by the death of one of his most valuable members. He sees Itachi's body, sees Naruto's grief, and makes a calculation. He tells Naruto that the mission continues, that Itachi's death changes nothing, and that Naruto is still a member of the Akatsuki with duties to fulfill. But Naruto, looking up at Pain with eyes that now glow with the Nine Tails chakra leaking through his grief, says something that surprises everyone. He says no. For the first time in his life, Naruto refuses an order. He tells Pain that Itachi is dead because of the Akatsuki's war, because of this endless cycle of violence, and that he won't be part of it anymore. He's going to find another way, the way Itachi actually wanted but could never speak aloud, a way to break the cycle without destroying everything. Pain, cold and godlike in his conviction, tells Naruto that he's making a mistake, that the world can only know peace through pain, through overwhelming force. And Naruto, channeling years of Itachi's training and his own natural charisma, responds with words that echo through the battlefield. He says that pain doesn't create peace, it only creates more pain, and that real peace comes from understanding, from people seeing each other as human rather than as enemies or tools. It's idealistic, maybe even naive, but coming from this battle-hardened teenager, standing over his mentor's body with the power of the Nine Tails radiating from him, it carries weight. Some of the shinobi on the battlefield, both Akatsuki and coalition forces, actually pause to listen, because in this world of endless war and bloodshed, the idea that there might be another way is intoxicating. But Obito, watching from the shadows, knows that he can't allow this. Naruto, alive and independent, is a threat to his plans for the infinite Tsukuyomi. The Nine Tails needs to be extracted. The Eye of the Moon plan needs to proceed. So Obito reveals himself, dropping the Tobi persona and showing his true identity as an Uchiha. He uses his Kamui to appear directly next to Naruto, intending to capture him and extract the Nine Tails immediately. But he underestimated two things. First, Naruto's speed. Years of training with Itachi have made him incredibly fast. Fast enough that he can actually react to Kamui's activation. Second, he didn't account for Kurama. The Nine Tails, who has been quietly observing everything, makes a decision. He's seen Itachi die, protecting both Naruto and his brother. He's heard Naruto's words about breaking cycles of hatred. And for the first time in centuries, Kurama feels something other than rage. He feels hope. So when Obito reaches for Naruto, Kurama floods Naruto with chakra more than ever before, creating a full Nine Tails chakra cloak that's so powerful it physically pushes Obito back. The sight is awe-inspiring. Naruto, wreathed in the Nine Tails' golden chakra, with nine tails extending from his back and fox-like features manifesting round him, stands as a beacon of power in the middle of the battlefield. Everyone stops fighting to stare. This is the full power of a perfect Jinchuriki, something that hasn't been seen since the fourth Hokage or the Gold and Silver brothers from the Cloud Village. Obito, realizing that he can't capture Naruto alone, retreats, but he promises that this isn't over, that the Akatsuki will hunt Naruto to the ends of the earth to extract the Nine Tails. Pain, conflicted because he sees value in Naruto, but also needs the Nine Tails for his plan, makes a strategic withdrawal, taking the other Akatsuki members with him. The coalition forces, exhausted and stunned by what they've witnessed, don't pursue. They've accomplished their goal of disrupting the Akatsuki. And frankly, no one wants to fight someone with that much power. In the aftermath, Naruto is left standing alone except for Sasuke, who hasn't moved. The two of them, enemies just moments ago, now find themselves in a strange position. They've both just had their entire worldviews shattered by Itachi's final revelations. Sasuke's hatred has nowhere to go now that he knows the truth. And Naruto's loyalty to the Akatsuki has evaporated now that Itachi is gone. Sasuke breaks the silence first. He asks Naruto what he's going to do now. And Naruto, with more conviction than Sasuke has heard in his voice before, says that he's going to do what Itachi couldn't. He's going to change the shinobi world, not through fear or pain, but by proving that there's another way. And he invites Sasuke to join him to honor Itachi's memory by becoming the kind of shinobi that Itachi wished he could have been. A shinobi who chooses peace over revenge. Sasuke, torn between his learned hatred and the truth he's just discovered, doesn't answer immediately. But he doesn't attack either, which is significant. Instead, he tells Naruto that he needs time to think, to process everything, and then he leaves, vanishing in a blur of movement, leaving Naruto alone on the battlefield with Itachi's body. Naruto takes Itachi's body and buries it in a secret location, marking the grave with a simple stone. He takes Itachi's Akatsuki ring and his headband, keeping them as reminders of the man who shaped him. And then Naruto disappears from the shinobi world, going into deep cover while he figures out his next move. Months pass. The shinobi world is in turmoil. The Akatsuki is actively hunting for Naruto, wanting to reclaim the Nine Tails. The Hidden Leaf is also searching for him, seeing him as both a missing comrade and a potential threat, given his association with the Akatsuki. And various other factions, sensing an opportunity, are trying to locate this powerful Jinchuriki for their own purposes. But Naruto is elusive, using every trick Itachi taught him to stay hidden. And during this time, he's working. He's reaching out to people, carefully and quietly, building a network. He makes contact with other Jinchuriki, telling them about his vision of a world where they're not treated as weapons, but as people. He reaches out to missing nine and rogues, people who have been cast out by the village system, offering them a different path. He even makes secret contact with some village shinobi who are disillusioned with the endless wars and the way their villages use them. One of the first people to join Naruto's cause is, surprisingly, Gaara of the Sand. Gaara, who in the original timeline became Kazekage and Naruto's friend, in this timeline is still struggling with being a Jinchuriki and being hated by his village. When Naruto reaches out to him, shares his own experiences, and talks about creating a world where Jinchuriki don't have to be monsters or weapons, Gaara is captivated. For the first time, he meets someone who truly understands his pain. They form an alliance, and Gaara becomes one of Naruto's most trusted allies. Through Gaara, Naruto makes contact with Killer Bee, the Eight-Tails Jinchuriki from the Cloud Village. Bee, who has already achieved perfect synchronization with his tailed beast, is initially skeptical of this kid's grand plans. But when he sees Naruto's genuine connection with Kurama, when he sees that Naruto isn't just talking about change but actively building it, Bee is impressed. He doesn't fully join Naruto's organization. His loyalty to the Raikage is strong, but he offers support and guidance, teaching Naruto advanced Jinchuriki techniques. Naruto's organization grows slowly but steadily. It's not large, maybe 30 or 40 members at most, but each one is incredibly skilled and deeply committed to the cause. They call themselves the Eclipse, symbolizing the darkness that must come before a new dawn. Their goal is radical: to fundamentally restructure the shinobi world away from the village system that breeds constant warfare and towards something new. They're not entirely sure what that something is yet, but they know it has to be different. The established powers, of course, see Eclipse as a threat. The 5 great villages, despite their usual rivalries, begin to coordinate against this new organization. They see it as potentially more dangerous than the Akatsuki, because while the Akatsuki's goals were destructive and could be opposed directly, Eclipse's goals are ideological. You can't fight an idea with kunai and jutsu alone. But Naruto has learned from Itachi. He doesn't engage in direct military confrontation unless absolutely necessary. Instead, Eclipse works in the shadows, disrupting war efforts, protecting civilians caught in conflicts, and spreading their message. They stop weapons shipments. They reveal corruption in village governments. They protect refugee camps. And slowly, they start to gain a reputation not as terrorists, but as something like folk heroes among common people. This brings us to a critical confrontation. The Hidden Leaf, frustrated by their inability to capture or contain Eclipse, decides on a dramatic move. They arrange a summit of the 5 cages, the leaders of the 5 great villages, and they invite Naruto to attend under a flag of truce. It's a trap, obviously, designed to capture him. But Naruto, after consulting with his allies, decides to go anyway, because he sees it as an opportunity to speak directly to the most powerful people in the shinobi world. The summit takes place in a neutral location, the Land of Iron, overseen by the samurai who are not part of the shinobi village system. Naruto arrives alone, walking into a room full of the most powerful shinobi in the world. There's Tsunade, the 5th Hokage of the Hidden Leaf, who remembers Naruto as a child before he was taken. There's the Raikage of the Cloud Village, a mountain of a man who values strength above all else. There's the Mizukage of the Hidden Mist, calculating and dangerous. There's the Kazekage, not Gaara but his father, still alive in this timeline, ruthless and pragmatic. And there's the Tsuchikage of the Hidden Stone, the oldest Kage, who has seen multiple generations of warfare. Naruto, standing before them, is given a chance to speak. And what he says next is something none of them expected. He doesn't make threats. He doesn't demand anything. Instead, he tells them his story. He tells them about being a Jinchuriki in the Hidden Leaf, about the hatred and fear he faced despite having no choice in becoming a vessel. He tells them about Itachi, about a man who sacrificed everything for peace and got only hatred in return. He tells them about the other Jinchuriki he's met, all of whom have suffered similar fates. And then he asks them a simple question. Is this really the best system you can create? Is this cycle of hatred and war really worth maintaining? The cages are silent for a moment, and then the Raikage speaks. He says that the system exists because it's necessary, that power must be controlled or it will destroy everything. The Mizukage agrees, adding that villages need weapons to defend themselves, and Jinchuriki are the ultimate weapons. The Tsuchikage, surprisingly, offers a more nuanced view. He acknowledges that the system has flaws, that he's seen too many young shinobi die in pointless conflicts, but he argues that dismantling it would only create more chaos. Naruto listens to all of this, and then he responds. He says that he's not advocating for chaos, he's advocating for evolution. The village system was created after the Warring States period to bring stability, and it did. But now it's become the source of instability, with villages constantly competing for power and resources, using their shinobi as expendable tools. He proposes something radical, a council of all nations, shinobi and civilian, that makes decisions collectively rather than 5 villages competing for dominance. It's idealistic, maybe even impossible, but the way Naruto presents it, with data he's gathered, with examples of smaller regions where cooperation has led to prosperity, with the moral weight of his own suffering and the suffering of others like him, it's compelling. Some of the cages are intrigued despite themselves. Others are hostile, seeing it as a threat to their power. But before the discussion can continue, the trap is sprung. Anbu operatives from multiple villages move to capture Naruto simultaneously, trying to suppress his chakra and bind him before he can react. But Naruto was prepared for this. The moment the attack begins, Kurama's chakra erupts from him, creating a barrier that throws back the Anbu. And Naruto, with sadness in his eyes, tells the cages that he hoped they would be willing to listen, to consider change, but that he understands they're too invested in the current system. He tells them that he won't fight them here, that killing them would only create more martyrs and more hatred. But he also tells them that Eclipse will continue its work, that change is coming whether they accept it or not. And then, before they can react, Naruto uses a technique he learned from studying Itachi's jutsu, a powerful genjutsu combined with a teleportation technique, and he vanishes from the summit. The aftermath of the summit is chaotic. The villagers are humiliated that they couldn't capture one teenager, even with the combined might of the 5 cages. But more than that, Naruto's words have had an impact. Some shinobi who were present, guards and attendants, heard what he said, and those words spread. Suddenly, there are debates in villages about the Jinchuriki system, about whether the endless wars are really necessary, about whether there might be a better way. Eclipse gains more members from this. Disillusioned Chunin and Jonin, people who have seen too much death, start to defect to Naruto's organization. Not in large numbers, but enough that the villagers take notice. The idea that there might be an alternative to the current system is dangerously appealing to people who have suffered under it. But not everyone is swayed. Danzo Shimura, the hidden power behind the hidden leaf, sees Eclipse as an existential threat. He begins mobilizing his root operatives, planning assassination attempts on Naruto and other Eclipse leaders, and the Akatsuki, now led primarily by Obito after Pain's injuries from the previous battle, intensifies their hunt for Naruto. They need the Nine Tails for the infinite Tsukuyomi, and Naruto's growing influence is interfering with their plans. This leads to a period of intense conflict. Eclipse is simultaneously fighting off Akatsuki attacks, root assassins, and various village strike teams. It's a 3-way war with Eclipse caught in the middle. But Naruto has advantages. His network of spies, learned from Itachi, gives him excellent intelligence. His alliance with other Jinchuriki means he can call on incredibly powerful allies, and his own strength. A combination of the Nine Tails' power, Itachi's techniques, and his natural talent makes him a match for almost anyone. One of the most significant battles during this period is when Naruto faces Sasuke again. Sasuke, who has spent the intervening months processing Itachi's revelations, has come to a decision. He's going to honor his brother by becoming strong enough to change the shinobi world. But his method is different from Naruto's. Sasuke believes that change requires force, that the villagers will never willingly give up their power, and that a revolution, a violent overthrow of the current system, is necessary. So Sasuke has formed his own organization, taking elements of Taka from the original timeline, but with a different goal. He's gathering powerful shinobi who are willing to fight to tear down the village system, and inevitably, Sasuke's path crosses with Naruto's. They meet in an abandoned town that was destroyed in one of the many conflicts between villages, a fitting backdrop for their confrontation. Their conversation before the fight is intense. Sasuke argues that Naruto's peaceful approach will take too long, that thousands will die in the meantime, and that sometimes you have to destroy the old completely before you can build something new. Naruto counters that violent revolution will only create a new cycle of hatred, that the people who suffer most in revolutions are always the common people, and that real lasting change has to come through winning hearts and minds, not through force. Neither can convince the other, and so they fight. It's an incredible battle, possibly the most intense fight in this entire alternate timeline. Sasuke has evolved his Sharingan into the Mangekyo, having awakened it through the emotional trauma of learning the truth about Itachi. He uses Amaterasu, the black flames that cannot be extinguished, and Susanoo, the ultimate defense and offense of the Mangekyo Sharingan. Naruto, in response, unleashes the full power of Kurama, entering a perfect Nine-Tails chakra mode that rivals even the fourth Hokage's technique. The battle levels the entire ruined town, their attacks creating shockwaves that can be felt for miles. Sasuke's Susanoo clashes with Naruto's Nine-Tails chakra arms. Black flames meet tailed beast bombs. Genjutsu attempts are countered with the Nine-Tails' help. They're so evenly matched that the fight goes on for hours, both of them pushing far beyond their limits. But eventually, something has to give. Sasuke's Mangekyo is damaging his eyesight with each use. The strain is immense. And Naruto, despite Kurama's massive chakra, is wearing down from the constant high-level techniques. They're both at their breaking point when something unexpected happens. Itachi appears. Not the real Itachi. He's dead, but a technique he prepared before his death. A crow with Itachi's Sharingan, programmed with a specific genjutsu, activates when it senses both Naruto and Sasuke fighting each other. The genjutsu places both of them in a shared mindscape. And there, a manifestation of Itachi's consciousness, a recording really, speaks to them. He tells them that he knew they would eventually face each other, knew their ideologies would clash, and he wants them to understand something. He tells them that they're both right and both wrong. Change does require strength. Sasuke is correct about that, but it also requires compassion and vision, which is what Naruto has. Separately, they'll fail. Together, they could actually succeed. Itachi's message is simple. Stop fighting each other and start working together. Combine Sasuke's willingness to use force when necessary with Naruto's ability to inspire people and offer a positive vision. Create a movement that has both the carrot and the stick, that can defend itself when attacked, but also offers something worth building toward. When the genjutsu ends, both Naruto and Sasuke are silent. They're battered, exhausted, and forced to confront the fact that their mentor, even in death, is still teaching them. They don't immediately become allies. The wounds are too fresh. But they agree to a ceasefire. They'll stop actively opposing each other and consider Itachi's words. Over the following weeks, Naruto and Sasuke have several more conversations, each time finding a little more common ground. Sasuke slowly introduces Naruto to members of his organization, and Naruto does the same with Eclipse, and gradually a merger begins to happen. The two organizations combine into something new, something that has both Eclipse's idealism and Sasuke's pragmatic willingness to use force. This combined organization, which they eventually name the Alliance for a New Dawn, becomes a true threat to the established order. They have the military power to defend themselves, the ideological foundation to win supporters, and the strategic intelligence to operate effectively. Village defections increase, not just among shinobi, but among civilians who are tired of war taxes and losing family members to conflicts they don't understand. The 5 great villages, recognizing the existential threat, form an unprecedented coalition. They put aside their usual rivalries and create a joint task force specifically to eliminate the Alliance for a New Dawn. This task force includes some of the most powerful shinobi in the world. Kakashi Hatake, the copy ninja, leads the Hidden Leaf contingent. Killer Bee, despite his sympathy for Naruto's cause, reluctantly joins the Cloud contingent out of loyalty to his brother the Raikage. The Mizukage herself joins the Mist contingent, and powerful jonin from Stone and Sand round out the force. The resulting battle is the largest military engagement since the Third Great Ninja War. It takes place across a wide battlefield in neutral territory, thousands of shinobi on both sides. But this war is different from previous ones. The Alliance doesn't want to kill enemy shinobi if they can avoid it. Their goal is to defeat the village forces and force the Kages to negotiate. So they use non-lethal tactics when possible, trying to disable rather than kill. This actually works against them at first. The village forces, fighting with lethal intent, gain ground. But then Naruto makes a decision. He enters the battlefield in full Nine-Tails mode, becoming a golden beacon that every shinobi can see. And he broadcasts his voice across the entire battlefield using a sound amplification technique. And he asks a simple question. What are you fighting for? He addresses the village shinobi directly. Are you fighting because you believe in the current system? Because you think endless war is good? Or are you fighting because you are ordered to? Because you're afraid of what will happen if you disobey? He tells them that they have a choice, that they can choose to stop fighting, to lay down their arms and join the Alliance in building something better. He promises that no one who defects will be punished, that they'll be welcomed as comrades. It's a powerful moment, and across the battlefield, shinobi hesitate. Some of them are thinking about friends they've lost in pointless conflicts, about family members who have suffered, and slowly, a few start to lower their weapons. Then, a few more. Then, entire squads. It's not a majority. Most shinobi remain loyal to their villages, but the defections are significant enough that the battle's momentum shifts. Killer Bee, watching this happen, makes a decision that surprises everyone. He steps forward and announces that he supports the Alliance's goals, that he's seen too much unnecessary suffering in his life, and that if there's a chance for real change, he wants to be part of it. His defection is a massive blow to the village coalition, not just because of his power, but because of what he represents. If even a village's most loyal Jinchuriki is siding with the Alliance, what does that say about the current system? The battle ends not with a clear victor, but with both sides withdrawing to reassess. The Alliance has proven it can stand against the combined might of the villages, and the villages have been forced to recognize that this isn't a problem they can simply eliminate with force. More importantly, the public nature of the battle and Naruto's broadcast have spread the Alliance's message far and wide. Citizens in every nation are now asking questions about the system they've lived under. In the aftermath, a tense stalemate develops. The villages control most of the territory and population, but the Alliance has moral momentum and growing support. Neither side can deliver a knockout blow to the other, and in this stalemate, something interesting happens. Individual villages start to fracture. The Hidden Leaf, in particular, faces internal conflict between those who want to maintain the status quo, led by Danzo, and those who think reform is necessary, led by Tsunade. Danzo makes a play for power, attempting a coup within the Leaf to remove Tsunade and fully mobilize the village's resources against the Alliance. But his coup is exposed by Root members who have been secretly sympathetic to the Alliance's message. A brief civil conflict erupts within the Hidden Leaf, and when the smoke clears, Danzo is dead, killed not by the Alliance, but by his own former subordinates, who have had enough of his ruthless methods. With Danzo gone, Tsunade has more freedom to act. She makes a controversial decision. She reaches out to Naruto and proposes direct negotiations, not as enemies, but as people looking for solutions. This is the opening that Naruto has been hoping for. He agrees, and secret talks begin between the Alliance and the Hidden Leaf. These negotiations are complex and difficult. The Leaf wants the Alliance to disband, and for Naruto to return the Nine-Tails to the village. The Alliance wants fundamental reforms to the shinobi system, including better treatment of Jinchuriki, limits on village military actions, and a move toward cooperative governance rather than competitive rivalry. Neither side gets everything they want, but slowly a framework emerges. The agreement they reach is unprecedented. The Hidden Leaf will implement significant reforms, including abolishing the practice of forced Jinchuriki implantation for children, establishing civil oversight of military operations, and participating in a new inter-village council that will work to prevent conflicts before they start. In return, the Alliance will cease military operations, and Naruto will return to the Hidden Leaf, not as a weapon, but as a citizen with full rights, and as an advisor to this new inter-village council. It's not perfect. It's not the complete restructuring that Naruto originally envisioned, but it's progress. Real, tangible progress toward a more peaceful system. And once the Hidden Leaf agrees, other villages begin to follow suit. No one wants to be left out of the new order, and the reforms the Leaf has agreed to are actually appealing to many citizens and shinobi in other nations. Over the next few years, the changes ripple through the shinobi world. Jinchuriki in every village are given better treatment, recognized as people rather than weapons. The inter-village council becomes a real forum for resolving disputes before they escalate to war. It's not the end of conflict, human nature being what it is, but it's a significant reduction in the scale and frequency of warfare. Naruto, now in his early 20s, finds himself in a strange position. He's famous, revered by many as the person who changed the world, but he's also exhausted. He's spent his entire youth fighting, first training under Itachi, then with the Akatsuki, then building and leading the Alliance. He's seen too much death, carried too much responsibility. In a quiet moment, he visits Itachi's grave and tells his old mentor that he did it, that he actually changed things, and he thanks Itachi for believing in him when no one else did. But the story doesn't end there, because while the villages have reformed, the Akatsuki is still active. Obito and a few remaining members are still pursuing the Eye of the Moon plan, still trying to capture the tailed beasts. With most of the shinobi world now at relative peace, they represent the final major threat, and Naruto, along with Sasuke and the other Alliance members, makes a decision. They're going to end the Akatsuki once and for all. The final confrontation with Obito is epic. He's gathered the remaining tailed beasts, extracted from their hosts before the new protections were put in place, and he's activated a partial version of the Ten Tails. But facing him are not just Naruto and Sasuke, but Gaara, Killer Bee, and dozens of elite shinobi from multiple villages, all working together in a way that would have been impossible before the Alliance's reforms. The battle is desperate. Obito, enhanced by the Ten Tails' power, is nearly unstoppable. He can use all 5 chakra natures. He has access to the Rinnegan's abilities, and his Kamui makes him almost untouchable. But Naruto has something Obito doesn't expect. He has Kurama's full cooperation, and through their bond he can communicate with the other tailed beasts that Obito has absorbed. And Naruto, using everything Itachi taught him about manipulation and persuasion, convinces the tailed beasts to rebel against Obito from within. The beasts' rebellion creates a critical opening, and in that moment, Naruto and Sasuke combine their powers for the first time. Naruto's Nine Tails chakra and Sasuke's Susanoo merge, creating a technique of unprecedented power. They strike Obito, shattering his control over the Ten Tails and exposing his true body. And in the final moments, it's not Naruto or Sasuke who delivers the finishing blow, but Kakashi, Obito's old friend, who uses his own Kamui to finally reach the person his friend used to be. Kakashi pleads with Obito to remember who he was, to remember the ideals they once shared, and somehow, some spark of the old Obito responds. In his last moments, Obito releases the tailed beasts, undoing the partial 10 tails and freeing the captured beasts. He tells Naruto that he was wrong, that trying to create peace through illusion was the coward's way, and that what Naruto and the Alliance have done, changing the real world despite how hard it is, that's real courage. And then Obito dies, and with him dies the last remnant of the old Akatsuki's plan. The tailed beasts, freed, face a new question. What do they do now? In the old system, they would have been sealed back into new Jinchuriki. But the new reforms prohibit forced sealing, so Naruto proposes something different. He suggests that the beasts choose for themselves. If they want to be sealed into willing hosts who they trust, that's fine. If they want to roam free, that's also fine. The beasts will be recognized as sentient beings with rights, not as weapons to be controlled. Most of the beasts choose freedom, disappearing into remote parts of the world. But Kurama, after all these years with Naruto, chooses to remain sealed. He tells Naruto that their partnership has been the most interesting thing to happen to him in 1,000 years, and that he wants to see where this new world they're building goes. It's a moment of genuine friendship between a human and a tailed beast, something that's incredibly rare. In the years that follow, the shinobi world continues to evolve. The Intervillage Council becomes more powerful and effective. Border disputes are resolved through negotiation rather than warfare. The village system doesn't disappear. It's too ingrained for that. But it transforms into something less militaristic and more cooperative. Shinobi are still trained. Conflicts still occur. But the scale and intensity are nothing like the old days. Naruto becomes one of the most influential figures in this new world, serving as an ambassador and mediator between villages. Sasuke takes on a different role, leading a security force that operates across village boundaries to handle threats that affect multiple nations. They're not quite friends. Their relationship is too complex for that, but they're partners in maintaining the peace they both fought so hard to create. And sometimes, late at night, Naruto sits alone and thinks about Itachi, about the man who took him from the hidden leaf all those years ago, who trained him with cold efficiency, but also genuine care, who died believing that Naruto could be better than he was. And Naruto wonders if Itachi would be proud of what he's accomplished, if this new world is what Itachi envisioned when he made that fateful decision to take a 5-year-old child on a rainy night. He likes to think it is. He likes to think that somewhere Itachi is watching and approving. Because everything Naruto has become, everything he's accomplished, started with that one decision. What if Itachi took Naruto with him? That simple question, that single divergence from the original timeline, changed everything. It transformed Naruto from a loud, unskilled academy student into a tactical genius and powerful Jinchuriki. It changed Sasuke's path, giving him truth instead of lies. It reshaped the entire political landscape of the shinobi world, and most importantly, it proved that one person, making one decision driven by compassion and strategic thinking, could change the course of history. Itachi Uchiha, the clan killer, the traitor, the criminal, ended up being one of the greatest forces for peace in shinobi history, not through his sacrifice in the original timeline, but through his decision to save one child and give him the tools to change the world. This alternate timeline shows us something profound about the Naruto universe. It shows us that the system, the cycle of hatred, the endless wars, they're not inevitable. They're the result of choices, of decisions made by people who could have chosen differently. And if those choices can create the cycle of hatred, then different choices can break it. Naruto, trained by Itachi, became someone who understood both the necessity of strength and the importance of compassion. He learned to think strategically like Itachi, but he retained his natural empathy and his belief that people are fundamentally good. That combination, strength plus compassion, plus strategic thinking plus hope, that's what allowed him to succeed where others failed. And Sasuke, given the truth about Itachi earlier, was able to process his trauma differently. Instead of spending years consumed by blind hatred, he was able to channel his pain into something constructive. He became the sword to Naruto's shield, the force that protected the peace they were building, while Naruto built the bridges between people. Together, they embodied Itachi's legacy better than either could have alone, and in doing so, they created a world that was genuinely better than the one they inherited. Not perfect, humans are too flawed for perfection, but better. Measurably, significantly better. A world where Jinchuriki were people, where villagers cooperated more than they competed, where wars were rare rather than constant. And all of this traces back to that moment when Itachi Uchiha, covered in the blood of his clan, looked at a sleeping 5-year-old boy and made a choice. He chose to take Naruto with him. He chose to give this hated child a chance at something better. He chose to invest his final years in training someone who could carry on his true mission, the mission he could never speak aloud, to end the cycle of hatred. In the original timeline, Itachi tried to do this through sacrifice, through making himself the villain so that Sasuke could be the hero. But in this timeline, he tried a different approach. He tried to create someone who could change the system itself, who could address the root causes of the cycle rather than just playing a role within it. And against all odds, it worked. So what would have happened if Itachi took Naruto with him? The shinobi world would have been shaken to its core, forces into confronting its fundamental assumptions about Jinchuriki, about village rivalry, about the very nature of shinobi society. It would have been painful, violent, chaotic. Many would have died in the conflicts that followed. But in the end, it would have led to something genuinely new, a world that learned from its past mistakes instead of repeating them endlessly. And Naruto Uzumaki, the boy who everyone hated, who carried the Nine Tails, who in the original timeline had to fight so hard just to be acknowledged. In this timeline, he became acknowledged in a completely different way, not as Hokage of a single village, but as the person who helped reshape the entire shinobi world. Not through power alone, though he had plenty of that, but through vision, through persistence, through refusing to accept that the way things were was the way things had to be. That's the real lesson of this alternate timeline. Change is possible. Systems that seem permanent, cycles that seem unbreakable. They can be altered if someone has the courage to try, the strength to persevere, and the wisdom to find allies rather than fighting alone. Itachi gave Naruto the tools, but Naruto did the work. And together, across the gap of death itself, the clan killer and the Jinchuriki changed the world. Before we close, I want to ask you something. In the comments below, let me know who your favorite character is from this alternate timeline. Is it Naruto, shaped by Itachi's cold precision but retaining his natural warmth? Is it Sasuke, given truth instead of lies and finding a different path? Is it Itachi himself, making the hardest choices imaginable in pursuit of a better world? Or maybe it's one of the supporting characters, Gaara finding a true friend, or Killer Bee standing up for what's right even when it costs him everything, or even Kurama, the Nine Tails, who went from a force of rage to a genuine partner. Drop your favorite in the comments. I love reading your thoughts on these stories. And with that, we've reached the end of our journey together tonight. Thank you so much for spending this time with me, for exploring this alternate timeline and imagining what could have been if just one thing had been different. If you enjoyed this deep dive, please consider subscribing to the channel. It genuinely helps me continue making these long-form explorations of the Naruto universe. And if you have ideas for other what-if scenarios you'd like me to explore, drop those in the comments too. Until next time, take care of yourselves, think about the choices you make and how they ripple outward. And remember that sometimes the smallest decision can change everything. Good night, everyone.